It was a seemingly ordinary Tuesday in November of 2022. The leaves were turning, the air was crisp, and the world was turning as it always does. Little did anyone know, this particular Tuesday would be etched in the annals of cryptocurrency history. For most, life proceeded as usual. Commuters rushed to work, students attended classes, and the daily grind continued its relentless march forward. It was just another day in the tapestry of everyday existence. But beneath the surface of normalcy, a seismic event was brewing in the volatile world of crypto. For those immersed in the digital currency ecosystem, it was the day the floor simply vanished, swallowed by an abyss of uncertainty and fear. $32 billion gone in a flash evaporated into the digital ether, a staggering sum representing the hopes, dreams, and investments of countless individuals. That's more than the entire gross domestic product of Iceland, a nation known for its stunning landscapes and vibrant culture. It surpasses the combined economic output of Jamaica and Armenia, highlighting the sheer magnitude of the loss. One moment, FTX stood as the shining city on the hill for crypto believers, a beacon of innovation and financial opportunity. It was the poster child for the promise of decentralized finance. The next, it was a digital ghost town, a desolate landscape where life savings transformed into worthless pixels, leaving behind a trail of shattered dreams and financial ruin. This wasn't a mere market correction, a temporary dip in the value of assets. No, this was a full-scale demolition, a controlled implosion that brought down an empire. It started with a whisper, a rumor that quickly escalated into a roar. A leaked balance sheet from Alameda Research, FTX's closely linked sister company, ignited the spark. The document revealed a precarious situation, showing that Alameda Research was heavily propped up by FTT, FTX's own native token. This raised serious questions about the stability and solvency of both entities. It was akin to discovering that the Federal Reserve's primary asset was nothing more than a massive pile of arcade tokens, a flimsy foundation for a global financial system. Panic spread like wildfire through the crypto community. Customers, fearing the worst, rushed to withdraw their funds from the FTX platform, but the digital exits were locked, bolted shut. The withdraw button, once a symbol of financial freedom, became a cruel and mocking joke. The platform froze, grinding to a halt under the immense pressure, and with it, the hopes and dreams of millions of users were also frozen, suspended in a state of agonizing uncertainty. This wasn't some obscure fly-by-night operation operating in the shadows. This was FTX, a name that had become synonymous with the rise of crypto. They had secured their place in the mainstream, emblazoned their name on the Miami Heat's arena, a testament to their perceived legitimacy and financial prowess. They had enlisted the star power of Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, icons of American culture, to endorse their platform and lure in new investors. Even Larry David, the king of skepticism and comedic cynicism, had appeared in their Super Bowl commercial, a seemingly impossible feat. The carefully crafted message was clear: this is safe, this is mainstream, this is the future of finance. But on that fateful Tuesday, the curtain was unceremoniously ripped back, exposing the unsettling truth behind the carefully constructed facade, revealing that the wizard behind it all was allegedly pilfering from the cash register, diverting funds for personal gain and reckless ventures. The digital bank wasn't just illiquid, struggling to meet its obligations, it was fundamentally hollow, devoid of the assets it claimed to possess. The scale of the collapse was breathtaking, a supernova unfolding in slow motion, captivating the world with its destructive power. The $32 billion valuation, once a symbol of innovation and success, became a monument to collective delusion, a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hype and speculative frenzy. It wasn't just a corporate failure, a business deal gone wrong. It was a catastrophic breach of trust, a betrayal of the investors who had placed their faith and their savings in the hands of FTX. For insiders, those who had a glimpse behind the curtain, it was a mad scramble to salvage what they could, to distance themselves from the impending disaster. For regulators, it was a five-alarm fire, a crisis that demanded immediate attention and a thorough investigation to uncover the truth and prevent future occurrences. But for millions of ordinary people, the everyday investors who had bought into the promise of crypto, it was the day their financial future was potentially stolen, leaving them with nothing but questions and a profound sense of loss. Behind the flashy headlines and the staggering numbers are real people with real lives and real dreams. These aren't just abstract figures on a balance sheet, they represent hopes, aspirations and futures that have been irrevocably altered. Take for instance Elle, a UK musician who poured his life savings, a substantial $15,000, into FTX, a platform he believed to be a secure and reliable investment. This wasn't just spare cash, it was money painstakingly saved, representing years of hard work and sacrifice. He invested, trusting the platform's assurances of safety and stability. He, like many others, was drawn in by the promise of a secure financial future. He routinely checked his account, and on one fateful November morning, everything changed. He logged in to find his balance frozen, inaccessible, and likely lost forever. The realization was devastating, a crushing blow to his financial security. Elle's story tragically is not unique. It's a heartbreaking narrative repeated 1,000,000 times over, echoing across continents and impacting countless lives. Consider the father in Brazil who diligently saved for his daughter's college fund, a dream he held dear for years. He entrusted his savings to FTX, swayed by the allure of advertisements and the endorsements of celebrities he admired. Now imagine the gut-wrenching task of telling your child that their future, their education, was gambled away by a 30-year-old living a lavish lifestyle in the Bahamas. The overwhelming shame, the profound sense of helplessness, that's the true and lasting legacy of FTX, a stain on the financial landscape. Then there's the small business owner in Southeast Asia who relied on FTX not as an investment vehicle, but as a crucial tool for processing payments and managing his business finances. When FTX abruptly collapsed, he didn't just lose personal savings, he lost his company's working capital, the lifeblood of his business. Suddenly, he found himself unable to fulfill his obligations, unable to pay his suppliers, and unable to provide salaries to his dedicated employees. The ripple effect of the collapse cost him not only his own livelihood, but also the livelihoods of all those who depended on his business for their survival. And the devastation extends far beyond individual investors and small businesses. The FTX Foundation, once lauded for its philanthropic endeavors, had pledged millions of dollars to worthy causes around the globe, funds earmarked for critical initiatives like pandemic prevention, groundbreaking climate change research, and other vital programs. Numerous charities operating on tight budgets and relying on these commitments meticulously crafted their plans and allocated resources based on those pledges. But when FTX dramatically imploded, those carefully laid plans were shattered, and those promises evaporated into thin air. The promised funds simply disappeared, leaving crucial humanitarian work in limbo, vital medical research unfunded, and urgent climate initiatives stalled indefinitely. FTX didn't just steal from its customers, it effectively stole from the future, jeopardizing the progress of charitable work and undermining the efforts to address some of the world's most pressing challenges. It's a multi-layered catastrophe, a complex web of financial damage fueled by greed and a blatant disregard for ethical conduct. The true human cost of this collapse is ultimately incalculable, a profound tragedy that will continue to resonate for years to come. On the surface, FTX was a marketing masterpiece, smart, sophisticated, and legitimate. The face was Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, the rumpled, altruistic boy genius. He spoke of making money to give it away a nerdy Robin Hood. FTX spent a fortune on image naming rights to the Miami Heat's arena A-list celebrities and Super Bowl ads. The message, everyone's doing this, don't miss out. But behind the scenes, FTX was a chaotic mess run by a small group in a Bahamas penthouse. There was a shocking lack of corporate controls. John Ray III, the veteran insolvency lawyer, called it the worst failure of controls he'd ever seen. Customers were sold a story of safety, told their assets were secure. In reality, their money was allegedly funneled to Alameda Research for risky bets. The boy genius wasn't a genius, he was just playing with other people's money. The heart of the FTX scandal, the misuse of customer funds. Customers assumed their money was safe, like a bank or brokerage. But FTX allegedly treated deposits as a personal piggy bank for Alameda Research. Alameda made huge, risky bets. When they lost, FTX secretly transferred customer money to cover the losses. A backdoor in FTX's software let Alameda borrow without limits or oversight. By the collapse, the hole was $8 billion deep. The money was gone, burned in bad trades and risky investments. This wasn't an accident, it was deliberate deception. FTX and Alameda were presented as separate, but were really two pockets on the same pair of shorts. It's the oldest story in finance: gamble with other people's money and hope no one notices. The only thing new was the crypto jargon. At its core, it was just old-fashioned fraud. As the bank run began, FTX's illusion of control shattered. Inside, chaos reigned. Captured in leaked messages and employee testimonies, executives scrambled. Caroline Ellison, Alameda's CEO, admitted to staff they'd been borrowing customer funds. The secret was out. The ship was sinking. Employees, many in the Bahamas, were left in the dark watching the company implode in real time. They fielded desperate messages from friends and family but had no answers. Sam Bankman-Fried tweeted, "FTX is fine, assets are fine." It was a lie. Privately, he scrambled for a bailout, reaching out to rivals and investors. His messages to employees were surreal, apologizing for the mess, admitting he'd fucked up. The final hours were a nightmare. A rescue deal with Binance collapsed after they saw FTX's books. The realization hit no savior was coming. The money was gone. The company was insolvent. SBF finally admitted the scale of disaster, but for those who lost everything, his apology meant nothing. The collapse was total. FTX's strategy for legitimacy was political influence. Sam Bankman-Fried turned himself into a political ATM, showering Washington with cash. In the 2022 U.S. midterms, SBF was the second-largest Democratic donor. FTX's Ryan Salame gave millions to Republicans. This bought access, and access is power. SBF became a regular on Capitol Hill, testifying before Congress and meeting regulators. He pushed for rules that would benefit FTX and hurt competitors. The goal: regulatory capture. Present FTX as the good guys. The strategy worked until it didn't. After the collapse, politicians scrambled to return donations. The scandal exposed how money buys influence and how a fraudster got so close to power. It was all part of the illusion. FTX's move to the Bahamas was strategic. Officially, it was for regulatory clarity. In reality, lower taxes, looser rules. The Bahamas offered zero income tax, corporate tax, and capital gains tax, a financial paradise. The regulatory environment was flexible, allowing FTX to operate with opacity. The Nerve Center, a $30 million luxury penthouse where SBF and his inner circle lived and worked in isolation. This bubble fostered groupthink and eroded checks and balances. When FTX collapsed, the Bahamas became a legal nightmare: jurisdictional confusion, asset grabs, and chaos. The paradise became a trap, complicating efforts to recover stolen funds. The choice of location was central to FTX's rise and its fall. FTX's collapse was a financial contagion, a rapidly spreading disease, spreading quickly through the crypto industry. FTX wasn't just an exchange, it was also a lender and venture capitalist. Its failure triggered a cascade. BlockFi went bankrupt, Genesis went bankrupt, others froze withdrawals entirely. Venture funds like Sequoia wrote their investments to zero. Even the most sophisticated investors were duped. For users and businesses worldwide, the fallout was immediate. Exchanges halted withdrawals, firms went under. The web of connections was dense and opaque. New victims kept emerging. The crisis exposed crypto's weakness, extreme interconnectedness, and lack of transparency. When FTX fell, it pulled dozens down with it. The illusion of a resilient, decentralized system was completely shattered. Cleaning up the FTX mess fell to John J. Ray III, the man who handled Enron. His verdict: never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls. The recovery was a global forensic hunt. Assets scattered across bank accounts, shell companies, and digital wallets. Billions have been located, but the value is based on crypto's low point in 2022. Even if customers get their dollar value back, they miss out on the gains their crypto would have made. Meanwhile, justice moved forward. SBF was arrested, extradited, and found guilty on all counts, sentenced to 25 years. Other executives pleaded guilty and cooperated. The convictions bring some accountability, but can't restore lost savings or trust. The hangover from this binge will last for years. The damage is done. So, as we reflect on the rise and fall of FTX, what are the key takeaways that we can glean from this saga? What lessons have we learned, and how can we apply them moving forward to prevent similar disasters in the future? First, let's consider the perspective of regulators. For regulators, the FTX collapse wasn't a subtle warning sign. It was a full-blown 5-alarm fire blazing in plain sight, demanding immediate attention and action. The warning signs were there, but were they heeded? The crypto industry, in its rapid expansion, cleverly exploited existing legal loopholes to avoid necessary oversight and accountability. This highlights a critical flaw in the regulatory framework. Regulators urgently need to establish clear, comprehensive, and enforceable rules. Ambiguity only invites exploitation. They must mandate regular and transparent proof of reserves audits, and enforce a strict separation of customer assets from company funds, ensuring that user investments are protected and not used for risky ventures. Simply letting innovation run wild, without proper safeguards and oversight, is a recipe for financial disaster and widespread chaos. Second, let's shift our focus to the investors themselves. Always do your own thorough research before investing in anything. If an investment opportunity sounds too good to be true, promising unbelievably high returns with little to no risk, then it probably is a scam. Be wary of celebrity endorsements. And remember that slick advertisements and flashy promotional materials are not guarantees of safety or legitimacy. The promise of easy returns with minimal effort is almost always a red flag, signaling a potential scam or high-risk investment. Always remember the golden rule of crypto: not your keys, not your coins. Trusting centralized exchanges with your funds carries inherent risks. Financial education is absolutely crucial for everyone, regardless of their investment experience. The FTX saga tragically preyed on a combination of greed and widespread financial illiteracy, leaving many victims in its wake. Schools must prioritize teaching the basics of investing and personal finance to equip future generations with the knowledge they need. Understanding risk and developing effective scam detection skills are essential components of financial literacy. Finally, the story of FTX serves as a stark cautionary tale for us all. It's a story about the dangers of unchecked hubris, the allure of seductive financial narratives, and the pitfalls of blindly trusting overconfident executives. Sam Bankman-Fried skillfully sold a compelling narrative of a visionary leader on a mission to save the world, attracting investors and regulators alike. But beneath the surface, it was all a carefully constructed lie, built on a foundation of deception and fraudulent activity. Therefore, be skeptical of charismatic founders and seemingly booming industries that promise revolutionary change. When the carefully crafted story inevitably falls apart, there's only one question that truly matters: is the money actually there, or has it vanished into thin air?